I wasn't ready when I died. The first lie unmasked for me was this. I had thought my body was made to sense the universe, to drink in the world as it is. But that was wrong. My senses had been built to shield me, to keep me blind to the truth of existence, its infinite and crushing flood of raw, incomprehensible knowledge. My eyes, which had simplified the world into neat packets of color and shape, closed for the last time, and then I saw. It was no ordinary sight. I beheld a cosmic melody, sung by the birth of stars, resonating with the collective heartbeat of humanity, punctuated by the unsettling pop of collapsing universes. All of it now, laid bare before me, overwhelming. Even the boundaries of my senses decayed, dissolving with the shackles of my flesh. It was a symphony that didn't just echo around me, but filled me, radiant warmth pouring through my bones as the heat itself sang in melodies beyond words. I existed in this delirium for eons, or perhaps moments, I couldn't tell. Slowly, painstakingly, I found I could separate my thoughts from the torrent. But as I began to grasp my own inner voice, I heard another, faint yet unmistakable. "Hey Jason, did you close off that passenger pigeon room yet? We don't need them anymore." Hello? I managed, my words drowned in the cacophony of existence. In an instant, like lightning ripping through my essence, I was jolted back. I hit a stone floor hard, gasping, my lungs desperate to fill themselves. My skin prickled, half in shock, half in a morbid thrill. A chuckle bubbled up, hurts like hell, but damn, I almost wanted to do it again. "Solid performance," came a voice. 478 points, up from 314 last time. I blinked, staring up at a koala in a worn suit, holding a clipboard, its tiny, shrewd eyes skimming through papers. I was still catching my breath, trying to piece together what was happening. "Oh, that explains it," the koala murmured, marking something. 50 points for loving someone and being loved back. That's always a solid boost. Another 20 for that album you dropped in the 80s. Touched more lives than you know with that one. Lost a few for not visiting Mark when he was sick, but hey, gained a bit back at his funeral. "Wait, are you keeping score?" I blurted. "Of course, if we didn't, it'd be chaos. We'd have folks reincarnating as bedbugs and vengeful geese for eons." He tilted his head. "Oh Jason, what's accepting your own flaws worth now?" An ear-splitting screech echoed through the grand hall. Right, thanks," the koala muttered in reply, jotting it down. "Have you always been a koala?" I asked. "Have you always asked questions with obvious answers?" He paused, grinning. "Kidding, sort of. Now come on, let's walk." He turned and waddled ahead, clipboard in tow, leading me down a grand stone corridor filled with creatures, goats lounging on staircases, otters playing in fountains, fish swimming in glass channels below. The hall expanded into a vast dome above, swirling with flights of birds, all moving in complex, dizzying formations. If you left the world better than you found it, you'll end up with more points than you started. Your 478 can open any room here well, except for Prophet and Psychic. They're both 500. Think of it as a chance to invest in your next life, the koala explained. Coming back as a human is pricey, but hey, you'll have the most potential to change your score. And as he spoke, the weight of this strange new afterlife settled over me. And for the first time since I died, I almost felt alive. "The only rule," he said, "is that you pick something you can afford. What if I don't have any points? Or if I went below 0? The koala's grin was chilling, a twist I hadn't thought his face could make. "Generally, you keep going down. It's hard to crawl out of the negatives once you're there. If you can't figure out how to do some good, you're forced to keep choosing worse and worse punishment rounds. Get deep enough in the negatives, and," he paused, his eyes narrowing, "you start looking at demonhood, vampirism, all that. Some people actually aim for that. Can you imagine?" "No," I answered honestly, "but I think I'm starting to. All these creatures around us, they're just spirits test driving their new bodies. Feel free to look around." The koala interrupted himself to glare up the stairs. "And Jason, what's that politician doing up here? Keep them downstairs." Somewhere in the depths, an eagle's sorrowful shriek rang out, echoing around us like a warning too often heard. The koala threw up his arms in irritation, muttering, "Kidding, kidding. What is this, a morgue?" But I had stopped listening. The grand hall had swallowed me, immense beyond anything I'd seen. Looming staircases winding up and up, vanishing into shadow. I turned to the balcony at the top, barely visible against the endless vault. "What's up there?" I asked. The koala's shrug was dismissive, a flicker of disinterest. "No one's ever had enough points to unlock that door. Not in my time here. How long have you?" I began, but he was already turning, snapping his clipboard shut. "Ground floor, let's go. The newly dead are piling up." And just like that, he was gone, swept into the crowd below, leaving me alone. Driven by a mix of dread and curiosity, I started up the stairs, feeling the pull of something beyond understanding. Past 500 points, the creatures around me dwindled, shifting into strange, ethereal forms, beings with skin like woven light, creatures both terrifying and sublime drifting silently past me. Finally, I reached the balcony, gazing down at the scene below, a writhing spectacle of beings dancing their way through this strange netherworld. From this height, it seemed miles below, as if I were looking down from some haunted plane, sounds merging into a low hum that pressed against my skull. All sounds, that is, except for the knocking ... I froze. From the door at the far end of the balcony came a rapid, desperate banging, faint but insistent, like someone trapped, pounding in urgency yet afraid to be heard. The door itself was not like the others. It was slick and metallic, shimmering like a pool of oil in the dim light. 3 massive iron bars crossed it, each engraved with runes, symbols of containment beyond my comprehension. The knocking came again, sharp, insistent. "Hello? Is someone in there?" In response, a hiss erupted, like steam bursting under pressure. The bolts on the iron bars began to slide, creaking with the strain of whatever force was pushing them aside. I staggered back, looking frantically below for the koala, but he was gone, lost in the seething crowd. Behind me, a heavy clang shattered the air. The first bar had dropped to the floor. "Can anyone hear me?" My voice was swallowed by the vast emptiness, as though I were shouting into the void. I turned towards the stairs, desperate to escape, but then the second bar fell with a shattering clang, and I found myself turning back. What was the worst that could happen? I was already dead, wasn't I? The thought died as the third bar dropped. The door shimmered, warping, then simply disappeared, a yawning void in its place. And from that void came the creature. My legs gave out, and I collapsed, bile rising in my throat as the thing crept into the light. My body seized in a violent heave, my stomach wrenching as I vomited onto the ground, my throat ripping open as thick, dark clots of blood, rotting flesh and chunks of decayed organs poured from my mouth, writhing on the floor like living filth. The thing loomed above me, its presence bearing down, a horror so profound it shattered my sense of self, leaving me splintered, raw, as I lay in a spreading pool of my own ruin, alone in the dark. I had almost forgotten my own death. Almost, but the illusion shattered the moment I stepped through that door. I was as trapped as ever. "Come," the creature commanded, its voice carrying a weight that crushed any thought of resistance. I stumbled forward, skin crawling, eyes fixed on the ground. I dared not look up again. I'd already seen it once. The thing was monstrous, humanoid in only the loosest sense. Its swollen, bloated body was the size of a cow, grotesquely misshapen by gases that seemed to bloat it from within. Open sores covered its skin, oozing blood and pus that streamed down in rivulets, forming a sickening, tattered veil over its nakedness. Mortal wounds gaped in its chest and belly, piercing through to expose shattered ribs like broken, jagged ivory. But the worst part, the most disturbing, was the face. smooth and untouched, the face of a young boy, staring out from the nightmare of decaying flesh. "Are you alone?" it asked. More alone than I'd ever been, I nodded, still unable to look up. The room was bare, a concrete cell with nothing but a thin bamboo mat. "Not anymore," it breathed, each word spilling hot, fetid air across my face. Who are you?" I forced out. "The final prize." Its words crawled across my skin. "Come sit with me. Be at ease." My body tensed, nausea rising, but I stayed on my knees, paralyzed. Why would anyone want to be? I faltered, the words catching in my throat. The creature laughed, a hollow sound like the tinkling of broken glass. "No one would. Being at the table doesn't make me the best. It just means I have the greatest potential for good or evil. I could create life or snuff it out. Does that sound like power you'd want?" I risked a glance. The creature had leaned forward, its perfect child's face mere inches from mine. It sighed and leaned back again. "Me neither," it murmured. "That's why I stay here. My influence is too great. Any choice I make reverberates, multiplied 1,000-fold across all existence. Were I to act to allow my impact to unfold, I'd die with such a debt of points that I'd be reborn as this thing over and over." "So you can do anything," I said, grasping to understand. "But instead you just sit here?" "Not nothing. I wait to die, to reset my points to zero and start anew." The child's face drifted closer again, its breath hot, cloying with rot. "Unless, of course." The implication hung in the air. My stomach twisted as I realized it. "You brought me here, to kill you." A flicker of something dark crossed its expression, and it gestured to the wounds crisscrossing its decaying body. "You're not the first," it said. "But revulsion, fear, cowardice, they have all failed. Will you be the one to show me mercy?" The thought of touching the creature, of doing what it asked, nearly made me retch again. "If you're the supreme power here, why can't you save yourself?" It laughed again, a haunting, brittle sound. "Death is the supreme power, and I am its servant, bound by forces beyond my own. I have tried to end my life before. The act only ensures that I return here, in this same wretched form." Its hand extended toward me, trembling, fingers fused at the joint's misshapen claws. I recoiled, but forced myself to accept what it offered, a black dagger, cold and strange in my hand. How do I end this?" "Through the eye," it whispered, pleading. "Are you sure?" The creature's smile was dazzling, grotesquely out of place on the childlike face. I felt a terrible sympathy, a yearning to end its suffering, to finally give it peace. The dagger felt right in my grip, cool and steady as I readied myself to strike. But as I raised it, a doubt stirred in the back of my mind, a whisper of hesitation. "Won't you at least close your eyes?" I asked. The smile widened, stretching unnaturally across the face, a twisted grin of sulphurous joy. "I've been waiting for this moment, for as long as I can remember." Without a second thought, terrified my hesitation might crack my resolve, I gripped the dagger with both hands and plunged it deep. The eye never closed, not even as the blade slipped through. It cut so easily, like flesh turned to air, until the hilt pressed into the boy's face. For a fleeting moment, the serene smile wavered, then flickered back, dancing between agony and ecstasy. The creature's massive form trembled, convulsing in waves, but I held the dagger fast, gripping tighter as its spasms subsided. When the final shudder passed, I scrambled back, just in time to avoid its bulk as it toppled, face twisting toward me. It hit the ground with a sickening thud, driving the dagger deeper into its skull. I stumbled back to the staircase, and the crowd parted, talons and claws pointing in unison, their stares fixed on me with a curious horror. Whispers undulated like ocean waves, fading in and out as I descended, until finally, I spotted the koala in the crowd, still as stone, his wide eyes fixed on me. "I think," I'd like to come back as a cat, I told him, heart pounding. Cats, after all, seem to know something about life that eluded the rest of us. Jason Mick. Anyone, the koala rasped, voice strained and eyes locked on me as if afraid to blink. What is this? Did I do something wrong? An owl perched nearby tilted its head, observing me with an unblinking gaze. Hey Mick, the koala murmured, voice hoarse. How many points do you get for killing God? Got a number for that? A chill crept over me as I swallowed, feeling the dry lump lodged in my throat. You're sure I didn't lose points? The koala glanced down at his clipboard, fingers nervously flicking the pages. Looks like Mercy's on the list. You're in the positive, my man. He hesitated, casting me a bewildered look. You're not becoming that thing, if that's what you're worried about. You're starting back where you left off, 478 points. But, he trailed off, staring. You've got so many more now. Good, I said, my voice cold. Then I'll spend them all in the next life. Whatever it takes, I'm not coming back as a monster. The koala blinked, as if he hadn't heard me right. You're not serious, he whispered. Do you even know what you'd have to do? I looked him dead in the eyes. I killed God, didn't I? My voice dropped, a strange, eerie calm taking over. Let's see what I'm capable of now. With that, I walked back into the living, my blood cold, my purpose sharp. And soon, I supposed, I'd find out.